I was shopping around for the right frame to gift my friends who just got married because I had the cutest photo of them. The FrameBridge website made it so easy to preview options that I slipped in a photo from my trip to Japan for myself, too. Now they've got a wonderful memory of their wedding, and I've got a new favorite piece of art in my house. FrameBridge has a curated selection of frame styles and design experts to make it fun and easy to frame what you love for the people you love. Visit framebridge.com or your local FrameBridge store at 1200 Villa Place in Edge Hill to start framing. Today on CityCast Nashville, it's time for our Friday News Roundup. With new information about Elon Musk's Tesla tunnel popping up left and right, we've got our favorite rideshare driver, Chris Williams, here to weigh in on how it could affect the local gig economy, alongside our executive producer, Whitney Pasterek. We'll also get into what I thought about the world premiere of the Dolly Parton musical. It's Friday, August 1st. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Happy Friday.
Hello.
Hi, Marie.
Happy Friday.
We did it. We're here.
There's a lot going on this week, Marie.
A lot going on in Nashville.
I mean, there's a lot going on outside of the tunnels, but let's just talk about tunnels more.
Let's just dig right in.
Nice.
Elon Musk's tunnel project from downtown to the airport has launched and is already zipping right along. Yesterday, the State Building Commission voted to lease a state-owned parking lot across from the state capitol to the Boring Company as a staging ground for the Music City Loop.
Yes, that's the lot between Rosa Parks and those like elevated railroad tracks as you're coming around that loop north of the Capitol. You've probably cut around it to get into the Gulch at some point. Chris, I know you know.
Sure.
Rideshare driver.
Right by that little tunnel you sneak through to get to, what are they calling it? Capitol View or North Gulch? They've got all sorts of fancy names.
So many fun names. So according to WSMV, Commissioner Jeff Holmes said that this lease will be about 22 months long, from today, August 1st, to March 31st, 2027. It is worth noting that before the lease was granted, according to WSMV, the Boring Company had already moved tents and equipment onto the property to hold a hiring event. Commissioner Holmes says that the company does have a license to be there now, so not Wednesday.
Very interesting indeed. So Nashville's jumped the shark to the point where they're kind of letting us know what's going to happen before any red tape has been cut, or just kind of ask forgiveness instead of permission.
Whitney, I remember them mentioning at the press conference on Monday that this hiring event was happening. Do we know how it went?
I reached out to Grace Wong in Human Resources at the Boring Company to ask how the event went. I did not get a response, but I certainly would love to know if they're creating local jobs. I think that would be a significant upside for this.
So there was a protest scheduled for before that State Building Commission meeting, and a lot of protesters did go into the hearing with signs saying things like, "No boring in Nashville," and "You're selling Tennessee out." And the Tennessean ran a poll asking if people were excited about this tunnel. 51% of folks said no, 26% of people said yes, 23% of people identified as tunnel curious. Which is my new identity. Chris, I want to bring you in. You're a rideshare driver. What was your first response when you heard about it?
So I'm going to also have to identify as tunnel curious. You know, I haven't had any big feelings one way or the other. I wanted to know more. But my curiosity is leaning more towards disappointment now that I understand that these decisions have been made prior to really any honest discussion with the people or with our legislature, as far as I understand. But, as far as from a rideshare aspect, we've been over how I avoid airport rides, but there are a lot of people where that's their bread and butter. I mean, they station themselves as close to the airport as possible in the interest of moving those people back and forth. They find that that's their niche. And I'm a little worried that that's going to have a huge impact on the way they do things. Now, sure, we all have to adjust from time to time, but this just seems like an absolute money grab for people that are already doing fine. I don't know. I think I need to learn more.
So you think that having this tunnel where manned Teslas driven by employees of the Boring Company would take people to downtown and back would cut into the incomes of your fellow rideshare drivers?
And I'm glad you asked that question. I only recently, like as of yesterday, found out that these were manned. For some reason, in my mind, these were autonomous, and that's why it was its own tunnel for safety concerns and things like that. And I've got to think that that's the eventual end game with these tunnels, is to have unmanned vehicles ferrying people, which, on a normal human level, I find that fascinating. But the nuts and bolts that come along with it and who benefits from it is a little concerning. Maybe it won't cut into people's income. Maybe that's their next job and they'll be paid better by driving Teslas up and down a tunnel. It sounds like a nightmare to me, but I can't dismiss that without knowing more.
Well, local leaders are also expressing concerns. At a press conference after yesterday's State Building Commission meeting, led by State Senator Charlene Oliver, she and other local Democrats, including Councilmember at Large Delicia Porterfield, mentioned repeatedly that no local representatives have been contacted or looped into these discussions.
This is the most interesting part of all of this right now to me, is how shut out of all of this the people we elected to represent us have become. We saw that on Monday at the announcement press conference. So I got on my horse to see who all was invited to be there. So I know that Mayor Freddie O'Connell was not invited, nor were council members Russ Bradford and Jacob Coupin, who, remember, they represent the districts that are kind of at the start and end of this tunnel, downtown and the airport. And then a lot of people, obviously, across the country saw the viral video of State Representative Justin Jones attempting to access that press conference and being removed. So I personally don't really understand why, if this is on the up and up, they aren't trying to engage our local leaders and make sure they know absolutely everything about this project so that they can give that information to their constituents, to us. And as Council Member Porterfield put it yesterday, how can you support something that you don't have any information for? Like, we think we know based on what has happened in Vegas and what David Figler from CityCast Vegas told us on Tuesday's show, but we just don't have any facts at all. So I reached out to the one person within our local government who does seem super excited about this, and that is Council Member Courtney Johnston. So you might remember she most recently ran in the Republican primary against Congressman Andy Ogles in the last election, and she is pushing back on this narrative of Metro being kept in the dark. I had seen her quotes in a Fox 17 story that ran this week. She says that the Boring Company spent over a year trying to get the mayor's office engaged in this process and was told they weren't interested and not to rock the boat before the Choose How You Move vote. She also told Fox 17 that they gave her a full presentation and she walked away impressed. So I texted Councilmember Johnston and I asked her if she was invited to the airport press conference. And she said no. But she once again emphasized that she thinks that this is a great deal for the city with no risk, no financial risk at all. She says she's really impressed by the Boring Company's high safety score from the Department of Homeland Security, and she thinks that the opposition is all petty politics. I sent her a link to Tuesday's show. I'm hoping that she'll listen to it, and I'm hoping to keep talking with her about this because I really do want us to understand where both sides are coming from on this, as this opposition is obviously already very heated. So I want to know if I'm missing something.
You're definitely more informed than I am, but I loved a couple of things you said, but I want to stick with the both sides of it all. I'm a little bit of a political atheist as far as leaning one party or the other. I truly want to hear what's in front of me, no matter who's saying it, and then judge it on the merits of what's being said and or done at the moment. And this, I don't really consider this a partisan issue, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I think most people in my sphere of influence, there'll be friends, family, colleagues, no matter what side of the aisle they typically fall on, they're concerned, but also genuinely curious about this. And just everyone seems to have an agreement that there wasn't enough discussion or presentation to us about this, and I know that people can say, oh, well, there's no risk, but you're just talking financially. I mean, we're talking about, pun intended, going full bore under our city, which, maybe they know enough about whether that's safe or not, but we don't. Shouldn't we be made to feel comfortable with that before you go digging holes into this whole city? Because if it truly is no harm, no foul, all those things, little icky that the whole thing is really just a business venture and not a true benefit to the city. But on the other hand, that's the same for any coffee shop or anything else. It just seems like a big enough risk, to the layperson to where those anxieties should have been allayed before they just steamed forward with it. Does that make any sense?
Why wouldn't you want to engage the local elected officials, regardless of party, so that they can go to neighborhood meetings and community functions and say, no, you've got it all wrong. It's great because of this. And they've already thought about this. And this is how environmental impacts will be handled. Like, they should be your ambassadors for this exciting thing that you're bringing to us. But honestly, it's just starting to feel a little stadium-tastic to me. A little bit of like, this is going to be great. Don't worry about the $2.1 billion. No, that's not a big deal. This is going to be awesome. And I don't like that feeling.
No.
If this does go off with a hitch, as they claim, and it's going to be that easy to bore through this bedrock that we've been told for generations, Marie, you and I have talked about this in the past, how much we would love to see something like a New York-style subway system underground, and we've been told all our lives it's just not possible. If Boring Company comes in here and just cuts through the ground like butter and makes this tunnel for a private venture, people that have sold us that bill of goods that it's not possible have some explaining to do.
That's true. I just want to quote Linda Anderson here. Good luck cutting through all that limestone.
Right.
That's just, it really is just going to be telling. So this is a developing story, obviously. We're going to be reporting on it probably every week from now on. So two more things worth mentioning to wrap up the first week of what is sure to be a hot topic in Nashville. Senator Charlene Oliver made an interesting connection at her press conference yesterday, talking about Elon Musk's XAI data center that is currently facing allegations of polluting South Memphis. She said that this tunnel is another example of Elon Musk coming into a Black and brown community to exploit, to pillage, and to profit.
And then State Senator Heidi Campbell stepped up to the mic at that press conference, and she asked local media to pay attention to what she sees as a troubling trend, and mentioned that at a gathering of the American Legislative Exchange Council in Indianapolis 2 weeks ago, that's ALEC, A-L-E-C, she said that Heritage Foundation President Kevin Roberts urged state Republican leaders to de-charter Nashville and transform it into a state-controlled municipal district.
Excuse me?
The Tennessee Holler has video of this moment on their Instagram. What do we think about that, team? Being dechartered and becoming a district like in the Hunger Games?
No, ma'am, I don't like it at all.
Oh, tell me more.
I love that you brought up the Hunger Games. I know I'm kind of going to go back on what I said earlier about being just kind of politically agnostic. But I've always been refreshed in the fact that the cities in Tennessee are blue dots in a red ocean. And I like both sides of that coin. I like the keep them all honest aspect of that. We're in close proximity to people that live a parallel yet totally different existence than we do in rural areas. But I like that they get to live the way they do and we get to live the way that we do. And I don't think making that a homogenous experience is going to be good no matter which direction that swings.
Marie? What do you think Linda Anderson would think of being part of a state-controlled municipal district?
For someone as like my mom, who's lived here for 40 plus years, to then be handed that, I think the boomers would be quite angry.
Who knows?
Who knows?
If this would happen or if this is just right-wing think tank talking. But gosh, sometimes it already feels like that, doesn't it? With the things that they can do to, we keep using the phrase to punish us.
Right.
Absolutely. Trying to make your way in this town is quickly starting to feel like a daily humiliation ritual. It's upsetting.
And if they want to sell this to us as a great thing for the city of Nashville and the state of Tennessee and making this, a world-class city, they've got to stop making us feel like it's being done to us instead of for us.
Remember that amazing little cafe you discovered last summer with the perfect latte and crazy view? Or that sweet hiking spot your friend told you about? But you can't remember the name. Well, with Overlook Maps, special places never get lost again. Create personal lists of places you've been and want to go. Build your must-visit list for your next vacation, your foodie favorites for date nights, or your weekend getaways when you need to escape. Share your favorite hidden gems with friends and family, or go on and keep your secret spots completely private. Planning a trip with friends? Create a shared list where everyone can add their ideas. Visiting a new city? Check out lists from locals who know the real gems, not just the tourist traps. And here's the best part, folks. No ads cluttering your lists, no one selling your data to advertisers, just your personal collection of amazing places, organized exactly how you want them. Overlook Maps. collect, organize, and share the places that matter to you. Download free at overlookmaps.com and check out overlookmaps.com/Nashville to see some of our lists and great spots on a map and in your pocket. Your places, your way. Byron Black is set to be executed here in Nashville next week on Tuesday, August 5th. This is after he was convicted of murdering his ex-girlfriend and 2 children back in 1988. And the Nashville Banner has been all over this story, and we really appreciate Stephen Hale's reporting. 37 years later, after well-documented lifelong intellectual disabilities, Black is in poor health, and his doctors placed an implantable cardioverter defibrillator in his chest, and it's meant to manage his heart condition. And Davidson County Chancellor Russell Perkins agreed with Black's attorney that the state must arrange for qualified medical professionals to deactivate this device before the execution to prevent it from repeatedly shocking Black in an attempt to restore his heart's normal rhythm.
Marie, you mentioned earlier that you know a little bit about this. Do you want to talk about that?
I do. I mean, so I had a friend whose father was on his deathbed, but right before, sadly, he passed, they had to have a nurse rush from the hospital to their home to deactivate the defibrillator because as soon as you pass, it does shock you. And so sorry, this is triggering for some, but if you've passed and this thing keeps going off, it is beyond traumatic for anyone who's watching, family. So I can't imagine what this would be like to do lethal injection and then have his heart monitor be going off. I mean,
and just like shocking his heart over and over.
Yes.
Bringing him back while, the chemicals are killing him.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's inhumane.
But now there's been all this back and forth between state attorneys who are asking for Perkins to modify his order because the state, quote, could not comply with it as written. Basically, the Department of Correction now claims that Black's medical providers at Nashville General, which, that's our hospital where everybody can be treated, Nashville General is refusing to deactivate the defibrillator, claiming that they have not been contacted in an appropriate way for that request. Nashville General told the Banner in a statement, "Our contract with the correctional healthcare provider is to support the ongoing medical care of its patients. This request is well outside of that agreement and would also require cooperation with several other entities, all of which have indicated they are unwilling to participate."
When I first saw the story, the first thing that popped in my head is they've got to be having a moral quandary with the Hippocratic Oath itself. The do no harm, do everything they can to keep people alive and assisting in the death of someone. Maybe I totally misunderstand the Hippocratic Oath, but I feel like that goes against that in combination with there's probably another layer of moral difficulty where, maybe they're not comfortable with assisting in executions in the first place. That's been a hot topic for as long as I've been alive, one way or the other, which brings me to the whole, circle back to the beginning of this conversation. If he's already in such failing health, could we just not let him ride it out in a cell?
Yeah. Well, sadly, yesterday afternoon, the Tennessee State Supreme Court ruled that disconnecting the device on the morning of the execution would interfere with the process, according to the Tennessean, and place a precondition on the Tennessee Department of Correction. State justices also ruled that the Davidson County Chancery Court, who made the initial ruling about disabling the device, does not have the authority to stay, modify, or condition the previous order for execution. There's one more aspect to this, Marie.
Black's legal team filed a request for the U.S. Supreme Court to grant a stay of execution due to his widely acknowledged intellectual disability.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing, right? So we're not supposed to execute people who are not fit to know what is happening to them, right? It's literally like you have to have a certain IQ level to be allowed to be executed.
I feel like that argument belongs in the courtroom prior to the sentencing, yeah?
We don't talk a lot about execution and death row stuff on this show. I'll acknowledge that. But, Tennessee's death row is in Nashville. It's out at Riverbend. And I do, like you mentioned before, Marie, I so appreciate Stephen Hale for always reporting on this stuff because it is a local story. We're doing this right here.
My question then is the governor could stop this at any moment.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
All right. Well, to be continued. Now on to the special congressional election to fill the District 7 seat that was abandoned by Mark Green. We have dates. Governor Bill Lee and Secretary of State Trey Hargett set the official dates for the Democratic and Republican Party primaries as October 7th. The voter registration deadline for the primary elections is set for September 8th. For candidates, the deadline to file paperwork to run for office in the special election is noon, August 12th.
This is like a whole clown car of people have signed up for this election already, and we're not even at the deadline yet. So we'll do a full rundown of everybody after all names are in. As I said on Blue Sky earlier this week, if you're in line to run for Mark Green's seat, stay in line.
Well, there's rumblings of somebody else running for something else. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is rumored.
Oh, that guy.
To be having secret discussions about the possibility of running for governor or potentially our 6th congressional district seat here in Tennessee. Although a spokesperson from the Pentagon told NBC, fake news, NBC is so desperate for attention, they are shopping around a made-up story again. Only 2 options exist. Either the sources are imaginary or these reporters are getting punked.
We're all adults here. Can we remember a time in our lives, let's harken back to, 8 months ago, when the Pentagon did not start quotes with the phrase fake news?
Fake rap.
Remember when the Pentagon was the Pentagon?
You remember when the fake news meme is what we thought was going to run that guy out of our lives?
I do.
And the opposite happened.
And now the Pentagon says it. Anyway, what, Marie? Did you have a question?
Well, I just didn't think that Pete Hegseth was even eligible to run here in Tennessee.
Tennessee Republican rules are that if you want to be a Republican candidate, you need to have voted in 3 of the last 4 primaries. And according to Holly McCall, editor of the Tennessee Lookout, Secretary Pete has only voted in 1. This is the same rule that got Robbie Starbuck and Morgan Ortagus kicked off the ballot when they were trying to run down in District 5, where Andy Ogles is. I don't know if anyone remembers those 2. My question is, why are all of these famous Republicans trying to run for our seats? They don't even go here.
Oh.
Yeah, now they're trying to make fetch happen.
Dun-dun, dun-dun.
Good news.
No, that was wrong.
No.
Hey, everybody, Nashville Scene's annual Best of Nashville voting is now open.
Good news.
Good news. And we would very much like to win Best Podcast. So here's the deal, folks. You need to go to www.bestofnashville2025.com. You have to vote in 20 total categories for your vote to count. But listen, this should not be hard. Marie, what's your favorite bakery in town?
Baby Chan.
Chris, what's your favorite brewery in town?
Southern Grist.
See, you two have already placed 1 vote outside of CityCast Nashville as Best Podcast. So think of it as a way to do what we do here on CityCast Nashville, which is encourage people to give neighborhood shout outs when you become a CityCast Nashville member, for example. We want you to know that we do have something riding on this. Our producer, Daniel Sumstein, has committed, this is important, Daniel is going to eat the hottest level of spice on Prince's Hot Chicken.
Oh.
While riding a pedal tavern, if we win.
Oh, my.
I volunteer as tribute to join him.
Whoa!
And Chris Williams will join it. This is outstanding. So
Wow.
two men weeping and eating on a pedal tavern when we win Best Podcast. Let's get out there and do it. So if you love what we do and want to help us win, again, that's bestofnashville2025.com. Thank you so much for helping get the word out there. What else is happening, Marie?
Oh, the cover story this week for the Nashville Scene are our buddies at Nashville Severe Weather. It's really great to see them getting their flowers. And so if you're not following them already, now is a great time. If you're not following them already, shame on you.
I'm a recent convert, and I love those guys.
Just recently, after living here your whole life?
I
You have
don't
your
know
weather
what to tell
radio.
you, Marie. I just missed the boat somehow. But once I hopped on the train, probably, let's call it 6-9 months ago, I'll never watch anything else weather related. I'm like, these
There
are
you
my
go.
guys.
Another cool thing that happened, speaking of people who are getting their flowers, so much great buzz around the new Tyler Childers album that is coming out. He's a Americana alt country guy, and he popped up in East Nashville this week with a free show at Turkey and the Wolf Ice House. He was also apparently like signing records at Vinyl Tap and at Grimey's. Like he'd made the whole tour of the neighborhood. And our producer, Daniel, who's a huge fan, says that hosting a soft open for his new album in a sandwich shop feels strangely on brand for him. It's amazing. Chris, have you been to Turkey and the Wolf?
So I'm embarrassed that I haven't been there because it's right around the corner from my house. And I'm doubly disappointed in myself that I somehow missed out on this event.
Yeah, I haven't been yet either.
Marie, I know that you have not had time to go there lately because you have been busy preparing mentally and emotionally for the Dolly musical.
That's right, folks. I saw the Dolly musical last weekend. I will say it was the perfect Sunday afternoon to go see a musical at the Fisher Center. It was the first time I'd been to the Fisher Center. It was an incredibly joyous experience going. The musical itself, about 3 hours long with a 15-minute intermission. And I will not speak ill of Dolly. I will say this musical that I have been waiting for 4 months to see, it has some holes in it, but that's why they're workshopping it right here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Exactly.
So they are working out the kinks and things, and how lucky are we to see these early iteration of it. So I do think that they are working things out. The casting, Broadway level. I mean, they all are from Broadway and here in Nashville. I was reading the credits from like Wicked and Mandy Moore, not the pop singer, but Mandy Moore, the choreographer for the Eras Tour, the Taylor Swift Eras Tour, choreographed the Dolly musical. Oh. So that was a fun little credit to see in our playbill.
It's all coming together for you, Marie.
Yes. And then I have to just shout out International Market. We went right across the street afterwards for dinner. And it was one of the best meals I've had in Nashville this year.
Damn. 2 really quick things before we go. First, we have to tell you about the most important crossover of the year. And I want to make it clear to our longtime listeners will probably think that this is promotion and that we're somehow getting SpawnCon dollars for this. We are not. Tecovas, who was the official launch sponsor of this podcast, has partnered with Chili's to drop their own line of Chili's-inspired cowboy boots. They're called Booth Boots, and they're allegedly crafted from the same material Chili's makes their booths out of.
Stop it.
They are
I can't take
red.
any of this.
They are bright red. They have a little chili in the stitching on the toe. They have a little embroidered chili on the side because, you know, Tecovas does custom embroidery. I remember that from our official launch sponsorship. And they're not bad looking. I'm sorry, there's something wrong with me.
No, they're adorable. I was like, you know what? I'd wear some boots with some Chili's on it. And you know how much we love the West End Chili's here at CityCast Nashville.
We do.
This is late stage capitalism at its finest. And this hurts. This hurts my personal soul.
What is that?
This hurts me on my Tecovas. This hurts me on a
Chris
personal
is holding
level.
up his Tecovas right now.
They're well loved and well worn. He clearly loves Tecovas. Chris Williams needs a pair of Booth boots.
I'll wear the Booth boots.
And then last but not least, we want to announce one last new thing that we've got going here at CityCast Nashville. We have launched a profile on Overlook Maps, which is this cool new map profile where you can go into what looks like a Google map, essentially, and drop pins for your favorite places and build a guide for your friends of your favorite restaurants. Or we have one in there of the best patios. We have one in there of the best kid-friendly restaurants. I just built one for the best dog parks in Nashville. Create a list, share it with your friends and family. We're going to be using it for any time we talk about a list of things on this show or in our Hey Nashville newsletter. And everybody should go check it out. It's overlookmaps.com. And I'm having a lot of fun playing with it.
This is a seriously cool thing.
Chris, maybe you could use it to plot all the places where you love to pick people up in your ride share so that if people are trying to call somebody and they want to ride with you, they'll know where they could maybe find you.
That's not a bad idea at all. My brain went to everywhere I want to have a beer on a patio once you said patios.
That also worked. Chris, we thank you so much for being here. We so loved our interview with you earlier. I guess that was the beginning of July where we talked about being a rideshare driver here in Nashville. And we loved talking to you and hearing your perspective on Nashville. Will you come back and do this again with us sometime?
Absolutely. I love being here anytime.
Awesome.
Yay.
Thank you, everybody. Happy weekend. That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Nashville neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson. Our executive producer is Whitney Pastorak. Our producer is Daniel Sumstein. Our Hey Nashville newsletter editor is Margaret Kingsbury, with Rover support this week from editor Elizabeth Kama. Our theme music is by Prof. Jenkins, with additional music by Rosedale and Anders Fobb from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!